Yeah, it seems like actually masculine men are more rare in Hollywood and entertainment circles than the emasculated ones like Will Smith these days. And it just came out that Tom Brady is learning to accept the fact that his ex-wife, Gisele Bündchen, the Victoria's Secret supermodel, was in reality cheating on him during their marriage with her jiu-jitsu instructor who was younger than her. It's just so, it's really poetic, honestly. It's so typical, right? The jiu-jitsu instructor who's younger
Could
than
have been
you.
a yoga instructor, I suppose, but that'd be for a guy with a female yoga instructor.
Yeah.
Right? Or like, I guess, no, it could have been worse. It could have been the pool boy. If it had been the pool boy, it would be worse.
So it says, report, Tom Brady has quote unquote accepted that his ex-wife Gisele had been cheating on him with a jiu-jitsu trainer, Joaquim Valente, starting years ago.
Yep.
However, the official story from an anonymous source that is likely hired by Gisele is that she only got with this jiu-jitsu instructor 8 months after the divorce with Tom Brady finalized.
This is like Kevin
That's
Costner.
the official story.
Yeah. This is like Kevin
So-
Costner, who gets splits up from his wife, and like she's out like on vacation with like a friend of the family the next week.
Yeah. Look,
Right. A friend.
There is no man that is ever good enough. You have to be like, or you're never going to be good enough by doing or achieving. Like you have to be like at the right, your relationship has to be right because your relationship's right. Never think that like you can like excel enough to make a chick who's got the ick think you're great. Ain't happening.
I'm picturing the Hallmark.
Doesn't matter who you are.
I'm picturing the Hallmark movie with a really sappy scene where she's like leaving him arm in arm with the jiu-jitsu instructor, and she's like, 7 rings on your finger. I guess there just isn't enough room for that one anymore. And she just leaves.
He's literally the greatest football player ever to play. You can hate him, but he's the greatest football player, the greatest quarterback ever. And that's still like, oh, maybe I can find someone better, the jiu-jitsu guy.
Right. So the conversation for what it seems right now is a lot of guys see this report and they're like, if even Tom Brady is going to get cheated on by his wife, then what hope is there for the rest of us?
It's like when Bill Gates got divorced and everyone's like, dude lost billions of dollars. If that's not enough, then what the hell is?
Look, the fact of the matter is society tells women if you're not happy, you should leave. And the fact of the matter is, if you're not happy, you might just need to have lunch, right? Like it might be that like you're not happy right now, but if you work at your relationship, and again, this is not defending, because the first thing that fucking people say is they're like, oh, well, you're defending, what about people that get beat? Obviously, if you're dealing with abuse, this is totally not the same thing. It's when, oh, I could find a better guy. Oh, maybe he's not. It's when the doubts get into the wife's head, and she's like, well, you know, maybe, and maybe I can find a better, blah, 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 blah. That kind of stuff gets in your head. That kind of stuff is amplified by society today. Used to be where a woman would think that and other women would be like, look, we all think that, it happens, it, you know, blah 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 blah, you should probably stick it out with your relationship, you got kids, you know, if it's not like you're getting beat. But nowadays,
also like this supermodel who is world renowned for her beauty, who is now you know, past her prime. She's 43 years old. And there might be a part of her that thinks like getting with a younger guy is going to give her spark back.
Could be.
Which is obviously incredibly naive and selfish and narcissistic, but it seems to be a profile that you see often.
That could be.
The conflicting report here that accuses her says if she wants to have people think that she's been dating Joaquim only since June last year, so be it. But they have been together longer and they aren't taking it slow. Tom has accepted it.
He is now
Should he accept it? Like, what do you even do in this situation? Yeah, like they've finalized their divorce last year, I think, or maybe late 2022, right? I think it was late 2022 they finalized the divorce. Since then, everyone was like, she's a witch. She was using her voodoo magic to give Tom Brady success in his athleticism for all these years, and now she's cursed him. And she's putting curses on his career. That's why he retired.
Time for the other guy to enter a jiu-jitsu tournament then.
Right, yeah. And when you look at this guy, he also looks kind of wimpy in comparison to Tom Brady. And it's like, what's going on?
However, as we all know, heartbreak is good for men when it comes to physical activity because Tom Brady, ladies and gentlemen, reruns the 40-yard dash and is faster at 46 than he was at 22.
What a guy.
Solid, common Tom Brady W.
$20 from Not That Jon Stewart. Phil just called women hangry. JK. Well, he wasn't kidding.
It's true.
Yeah.
I see stuff like this, and I understand men get demoralized with things like this, but I don't know if he's now with Bradley Cooper's ex.
He's
with
just
Irina Shayk or whatever her last name is.
I mean, yeah, from the appearances, it looks like both of them have moved on now. Another $20 from Bender the Offender. There's a study where if men got 80% of what they wanted in a woman, they would consider her a catch, whereas women consider 80% settling.
Interesting.
Well, women are the more selective of the sexes. This is just evolutionarily speaking, this is how women operate.
And that's
She's
the
not
way that
being
it should be
selective
too.
here,
Yeah.
Like a lot of guys get like upset about like the way things are with like the dynamic between women and men and stuff. And it's like, look, getting mad doesn't help. And like MGTOW doesn't help you either. Like you shouldn't end up like throwing your whole life into a woman, but like if a woman, like Jordan Peterson's right when he says if all the women around are like, I don't like you, they're all right. You know, like you should work on yourself.
Also, it should be noted, Tom Brady, being in the top, 0.01% of men is also selecting from a pool of the top 0.01% of women. And those people are not like the rest of society. They don't behave like the rest of society. They are in totally different circumstances. And you shouldn't model your life after them.
You're right, but I do think that like men will select, like the whole idea that men will select across and down and women select across and up, like social and economic status to find mates. I think there's probably like honest like truth to that, right? Does that seem like to make sense to you guys?
Yeah,
I think it does.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
So, I mean, that means what I'm saying is Tom Brady could slum it with a 9.5. You know what I mean?
Sure. If you consider Gisele a 9.5.
Well, I'm not saying that she is, but if you're like when you're in the elite and then you're like, oh, I'm going to go with a girl who's not like the elite, but she's still like out of the range of most men, right?
Sure.
You know, then it's still like.
This also, I think this is really sad for the children first and foremost, and everyone's focusing on what this does to Tom Brady or Gisele, and not on the kids, which is sad, because they have now had to accept this new father figure in their lives who is younger than their mom. It says Tom and Joaquim are not friends, but Joaquim is around his kids, so Tom has to find the good in him and does believe he's a good guy. Oh, I guess despite the fact that he blew up your marriage. If Joaquim ever becomes a father figure to his kids, Tom will be able to adapt. That just sounds like an extremely painful situation to be in for everyone involved. And it's unfortunate that everyone is thinking about how their spouse can enhance their life or their status or their happiness, their personal happiness, when that's not what marriage is about. It's not what it's ever been about. Yeah. It's about mutual self-sacrifice and having children. It's not about making deciding this person that I've selected is going to make me happy. It's about me.
If you're not going to have
Thank you.
If you're not going to have kids, I understand people that are like, if you're not going to have kids, maybe you shouldn't get married. Like that makes sense to me as well, right? No?
Well, yeah. I mean, some married couples also don't have a choice in the matter. Some of them are able to have kids and
yeah, like I mean, I was married and like my wife couldn't have kids. That's the reason I don't have kids now. Is not because we weren't trying. It's just that things lined up that way. So.
But yeah, that's it says that Gisele previously shut down rumors that her and the jiu-jitsu instructor were anything more than friends. She said, he's our teacher, and most importantly, he's a person I admire and trust. It's so good to have that kind of energy and to have my kids around that type of energy. That was back in March last year. That was not that long ago, and allegedly when she was already cheating with this guy.
Yeah.
And the truth is, even if it's true that, she got with this guy 8 months after the divorce, the affair already started in your mind as a possibility before the divorce or before the separation even happened. That's where the cheating really starts, is in your heart, which is, you know, not to Bible thump about it, but that's what the Bible says, is that you know, if you lust after someone in your heart, that is the equivalent of adultery, because that's how one thing leads to another.
Yeah,
and that's why there need to be proper boundaries between men and women, especially married men and women, when they're having friends of the opposite sex.
You shouldn't really have a lot, like, close friends of the opposite sex that you hang out with if you're a married man.
You admire and trust.
What?
She's saying, like, I admire him and I trust him.
No, that you shouldn't do. Look, I was dating, the last girl that I dated was absolutely wonderful. I got nothing bad to say about her at all. We broke up because I couldn't, like, move to Connecticut. We don't hang out and talk. Right? She's got another guy. I respect that. And I'm not, like, you know, popping in to say, hey, how you doing? I just want to check in on you. Like, maybe, like, if something actually comes up that's relevant, like if there was something in, like, the field that she works in or whatever, I might be like, hey, what do you know about this? Hope you're good. But I'm not going to just be like, hey, how you doing? Because she's got a husband, and, like, you shouldn't, and she's not going to hit me up either. Like, that's not something you do if you actually want your relationship to work. Like, it's just,
I feel like this should be obvious, but
it's not. It's not at all.
Apparently. And another story,
people will fight. People will fight with you about that. I mean, come on. You've been on the whatever podcast. You've had to fight about whether or not it's a good idea to bone people while you're married.
I mean, the most obtuse objection that I've heard is, you know, if you're a married man who's not capable of having close friendships with other women than your wife, then you don't see women as people. And I'm not even going to get into that because that's so stupid. But I wanted to mention this other story of an extremely emasculated Ben Affleck, because it's been revealed in this documentary that J-Lo is producing, The Greatest Love Story Never Told, which is now being told to everyone, that he had a major ask before getting back together with J-Lo: keeping their relationship off of social media, a demand he didn't win, which that much is obvious by now. So this...
okay, I'm not going to put it on social media. I'm just going to make a whole ass movie about it.
Yeah, like, sure, we're off social media, as long as it's on Amazon Prime. Which puts their whole relationship under a microscope, which is why his confession is ironic. Ben initially wanted J-Lo to keep their romance under wraps. He explained, getting back together, I said, listen, one of the things I don't want is a relationship on social media. However, he then realized he wasn't being fair, noting that Jennifer Lopez heavily uses social media and has hundreds of millions of followers. So he said he caved. It's sort of like you're gonna marry a boat captain and you go, well, I don't like water. He finished by saying, we're just two people with different kinds of approaches, trying to learn to compromise. You can really see the compromise on his face when he slams that car door shut on her, when he's out getting his Dunkin' Donuts looking suicidal. You can really see the compromise coming through on his face. Yeah, really sad. Also, he has hundreds of millions of followers too. That has nothing to do with it. It's a completely valid thing to want your relationship not to be blasted all over social media, most especially if you're famous. But for even an ordinary person, that would be a valid thing to expect.
100%. You'd also think that, like, if they made the agreement and she didn't stick to it, that would be like, okay, look, clearly we broke up and divorced before. Maybe we were right the first time. If she can't respect this with me, maybe I need to go ahead and walk away here.
Mostly because they claim the pressure of the paparazzi and the media on their relationship when they first were together was ultimately the reason they broke up. So now you're just going to do that same cycle all over again. For what? So that you can get a movie deal and an album out of it?
Arguably worse now because it's going to be done by them and not by the paparazzi. It's going to feel even more vindictive.
I mean, what it feels like is totally narcissistic. I mean, at least you're not... when the paparazzi are making up stories about you, you don't have control over that, but you are literally just putting as much of the spotlight on yourself as possible at this point.
She did say that she blames a lot of this on her past for having an extremely narcissistic mother and absentee father. So,
So she's got a void that she needs to fill with endless relationships that continue failing.
Yep.
Yeah, makes sense.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.